So this next lesson is going to be a little bit of a mix between technical SEO and some tidbits that we didn't necessarily cover, as well as getting set up with some analytic tools. We're actually just going to focus on Google Search Console because it's really easy to overwhelm folks with analytics and tools with analytics and stuff like that. But we need to actually get started on Google Search Console for a technical SEO side of things, as well as it's a really powerful tool for analysis. It's going to tell us how much traffic is being driven to our site purely for a website SEO basis. It's not going to actually factor in content for Google My Business or social media content or anything like that. So we're actually going to do a little bit of focus on technical SEO, but primarily we're going to talk about how we can get started with Google Search Console. So if you're not already on Google Search Console, you're just going to search for it in Google or whatever browser you use. And you're going to go ahead and click on the very first thing that shows up. You're going to be greeted by something that looks very similar to this, and you're just going to want to enter in your URL. Now, I'm rebuilding my site with a brand new domain, so this will actually be a perfect example to actually walk through. So let's do that. Well, actually, let me pause it and make sure that I have everything right. All right, so we do need to enter in the security certificate, which is just going to be HTTPS, // and then you can enter in the URL. All right, so let's go ahead and hit continue. It's going to verify the property, and then it's actually going to bring it into Google Search Console. So let's just wait here. I'm going to pause it, and we'll resume here shortly. All right, remind. All right, so ownership has been auto-verified. We're going to go ahead and let's see, stay verified, don't remove. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and go to that property. I'm expecting literally no traffic here because my site is not even live yet. I think I have one page live on the site just for testing measures. But now the site is added to Google Search Console. So if you have a current site and your site has been live and you're getting traffic and things like that, after some time, you're actually going to start getting some data and you can actually see some of the performance. Or you can click the full report here and get some information onto how your site is performing and things like that. Now, if you're not on Google Search Console, so if this is the first time you've gone onto Google Search Console, you're going to actually need to install or send out your sitemap to Google. A sitemap is just kind of, as the name implies, a map of your site. It's going to tell Google all about, hey, these are my pages and things like that. This is a really crucial aspect of getting listed on Google, making sure everything's being indexed, making sure that all your pages are not only live, but Google understands that they exist and is starting to push these things out for SEO. A lot of people don't even have a Google sitemap submitted, so Google doesn't even know that their site is actually out there. So their SEO is non-existent for that reason, and they don't actually index any of their pages or even manually index any of their pages to actually make sure that, again, the pages are live from a Google perspective and Google knows that those pages exist. So we're going to go down here to indexing. We're going to start with sitemap. So we're starting with sitemap, and you can see here that we have submitted maps and it's empty, and then we have add a new sitemap. Now, when you add your site to Google Search Console, it will automatically add your sitemap to Google. It's just going to take some time. Give it, let's say, 7 days at the very latest. If there's no sitemap here, then you can manually add a new sitemap. Just give it time. It'll eventually show up as submitted sitemaps, and Google will start indexing the page. So we've done that, but let's say we've created a brand new page. Maybe we've added a new service or a new product, or we've created a new blog page, and we need to get that indexed. The question is, what do we need to do here? There's two ways you can do it. One, you just wait for Google to do it manually. This can take a really long time. This can take anywhere from 48 hours, which is really quick. It can sometimes even take as long as 6 weeks. That's very rare. Both of those instances are very, very rare. I would say on average, it's probably 7 to 9 days. But we can actually manually index these sitemaps. By doing so, we can actually go to indexing, we can go to pages, and we can actually add the particular page that we want to do that for. So let me go ahead and pick a random sitemap here. So we can actually see these pages. We can see why these pages aren't being indexed. We can say which pages are being indexed. But if I wanted to add a particular page, I would enter in the URL of that page. I don't have it, for instance, so I can't do it here. But I can add a URL for this page, and it'll ask me, do I want to instantly index this? And I will. And it's not actually instant. It's going to still take some time for Google to actually index it and actually show the data behind the traffic for that particular page, but it will show up much faster than just waiting for Google to do its thing. There's really no other reason to not index your page. You need to do it. It's super vital so that that Google knows that your page is actually live and you can actually start ranking for SEO. So that sitemap, if you have WordPress Rocket and you are on, or sorry, if you're on WordPress and you have Rank Math, Rank Math is actually going to submit a sitemap for you completely included into the installation process. And then it also has a button to instantly index your page so you don't have to go into the Google Search Console every time. It's super easy and it actually just saves a ton of time. That's one of the big reasons why I like Rank Math. There are a few other things that I want to cover with technical SEO. So give me 1 second and we'll start going over that. The last thing that I actually want to talk about in regards to this lesson is page speed. There's going to be desktop load speed as well as mobile speed. And I'm here at pagespeed.web.dev. This is a Google tool. This is created by Google. It's going to actually give you Google related information. But it's important to understand how fast your site is loading. What's the website performance like? Because there are two factors in play here. Google is going to take a look at how fast your site loads and either promote or demote your site for ranking. So website speed is important for a multitude of reasons. The other big reason is that if your website takes a long time to load and it's not a good user experience, users are just going to be disengaged with the site. They're going to leave the site. And as you can imagine, Google is no longer going to promote your site no matter how good your SEO is. So page speed is very important, and we can actually optimize our page speed really easily if you're on WordPress. Sorry, but it's just the truth. Other platforms such as Wix, Squarespace, the only way you're going to be able to optimize that is based off of your DNS settings, who's hosting your website. You're going to actually need to probably pay for a higher tier package to actually optimize your page speed if you're not on WordPress, or be a programmer. And I would imagine that the majority of folks watching this are not programmers. So with all of that said, with all of that mentioned, I'm going to talk about how we can actually kind of measure our page speed and then how we can actually boost the page speed. So I'm going to type in my brand new domain. Again, I have not done much here with this site, so I have no idea what this is going to come up on for page speed. So let's take a look here. We're running the analysis. I'm going to pause this and just let this load. All right, perfect. So you can see here, discover what your real users are experiencing. I don't have any data on that because it's a brand new site. I only have it launched on, I think, 1 or 2 pages, and it's not even finished. It's just there for testing and things like that. What we have here are performance scores. Now, this is mobile and this is desktop. Both are really, really important. Most mobile sites rank in like an F performance, and we'll pick a random site in a random city in a random niche and see how they perform. However, with these situations, what we're looking to do is boost the site performance. Don't necessarily focus too much on the SEO score, focus on site performance. Same thing goes for desktop. Same thing, we want to focus on performance. I'm not going to go over a ton of this because this is a lot of information, but the key thing is how quickly your first coat of paint essentially comes up. This is the first section of your website. So if you have like a big image or a video and it's not optimized, it's probably going to take a long time for your site to actually load up. Now I'm going to use, before I jump into like a random example, see how their page speed is, I'm going to use a plugin and showcase to you how we actually optimize for site speed. I forgot that I had turned this on, but it is already on. It's called WordPress Rocket. I think I've mentioned it accidentally like a few times in this lesson. The big two plugins that I highly recommend for any WordPress user is WordPress Rocket, WordPress Rocket and Rank Math SEO. Those are two really important plugins. WordPress Rocket is a paid plugin, but I want to say it's $50 for an annual subscription. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. We're completely optimized, and I could turn all of this stuff off, and it would showcase how much slower the site would be. Let's see if I could turn this off really quickly. I'm going to do that and just show an example as to how much more of a benefit this is on my website when it's on. All right, so you can see here WordPress Rocket has been deactivated. I've ran a new test. Let's see if it's done loading yet. It's not quite done. You can see it's still the URL, and you can still see that it's only a few minutes ago. So it is still loading the performance issues. All right, there we go. This is on mobile. It went from essentially an A grade to it's technically an F grade. It's not quite there in the Google sense of being an F rating. It's still in the very low tier of okay, but it's verging on very bad. On the desktop side of things, my 100% went all the way down to 80. So you can see how much of an impact just a simple plugin can do for your website speed. Instead of spending, I don't know, I think like maybe $15, $20, maybe even more a month for better hosting on your site. If you're on WordPress, just get WordPress Rocket and it'll make a huge difference for your site. That's why I like WordPress. These are little easy things and they're much cheaper in the long run. Now, if you have like hundreds of thousands of visitors to your site, you wouldn't be watching this lesson in this masterclass. But if you did, then you would need to actually pay for that high-end hosting package. Now, if I go back and activate this, my scores are going to go back. I hope I don't have to re-optimize WordPress Rocket, but it doesn't take a lot of time to do so. That's its own thing of itself, but there are plenty of videos on the internet about how to optimize for WordPress Rocket. All right, last thing, let's do this. Let's go ahead and pick like a random city in the United States. Let's do Madison, Wisconsin, and let's do, I don't know, let's do Pizzeria, Madison, Wisconsin. Let's see what we can find. Let's not pick like one of the high ranking ones. Let's maybe go down a few. Let's do not one with multiple locations either. Probably most pizza places are going to have multiple locations, huh? Let's do Buck's Pizza in Madison. That loaded pretty fast. I'm going to guess that this is going to do pretty well. But I'm going to go ahead and throw this in. We'll go ahead and analyze that. I will pause the video and return once everything has come up. All right, now we're starting to see data from what users are experiencing on the site. The important thing to note, I'm going to jump really quickly into talking about how Google rates all this. Real users are people with modern, up-to-date cell phones for the majority of the fact. Google is actually using old phones on old, slow 4G internet to get a good measure and temperature check as to how fast these sites are actually loading. However, Google still is going to keep that in check, keep that in mind when it's talking about ranking for SEO. Is this a massive factor with SEO? No. Is it a factor? Yes. Should you spend $50 a year to optimize and get the best performance possible for your site? Absolutely. These are key things that you want to look at. So the typical user experience are not having bad issues with the site. Actually, everything is green across the way. However, on Google's devices, we can see here that this is a really bad performance. On the desktop, it's probably around 80, I'm guessing. Okay, it's 98. It's well optimized for for desktop, but it's not optimized for mobile. These are key things to kind of look at. Use Pagespeed Insights. Get an idea of like how fast your website is. Get a performance check for your site. See how your real users are experiencing page speeds and everything like that. Get a good understanding of that stuff. It's really important, and it can give you a good idea if your engagement levels are really low on your site. So these are some tidbits with technical SEO and a mix of these things. That concludes this lesson. We're going to move on to Google My Business, optimizing for that, talking about Google reviews, and a few more things.